Look at him, eating whatever he wants, never gaining a pound. While I'm stuck with the boring special and can't lose an ounce.
How's your lunch, man?
Amazing. Yours?
So good.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Cool, buddy.
Weight loss isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. The affordable GLP-1 source that can fix your frustration with food.
So, same time next week?
No!
Definitely.
And your friends. Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
You're listening to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. Happy Sunday, happy Easter, happy Passover to those that celebrate. This is a special Sunday podcast episode talking about some of the hot topics that we've talked about this week. I also just dropped a new Club Kempire episode where I'm talking about Kanye West and how people have magically or conveniently have decided to let go some of his MAGA behavior and anti-Semitic comments. I know he issued an apology in convenient timing for his new project, which Lauryn Hill joined him on stage. I see Chloe Bailey of Hallie and Chloe is getting backlash for attending because of the horrendous things that Kanye said about Beyonce, her children, Jay-Z, etc., etc. So if you missed that episode, you can listen to that on Apple Podcasts exclusively because that is a part of our Club Kempire paid subscription. And I spill a lot of tea on that one, so you'll have a field day of going kind of all the way back. I talk about shows that I don't talk about anywhere else. I also talk about Brandy's new book. You know, I had the pleasure of attending her event that she had here in New York City. She seemed so comfortable, and it was such a great conversation. I love the book. I am going to talk more about the book on another platform, not sure exactly where just yet, but we are definitely going to be talking about it at some particular point. I want to reread it as well. I also talk about Brandy in today's podcast episode, so be sure to get into this episode. We cover a lot of different things, and I hope you enjoy. The new season of Married to Medicine might be over. However, the drama isn't. Kirk King, Quad's now ex-boyfriend, is speaking out, calling her a liar after she did an interview with Carlos King. So we were just live talking about a bunch of different hot topics. If you missed it, I'll post a link in the description or somewhere in this video. And we covered so many topics from politics to pop culture to Real Housewives. But it was after that we were live that I saw this story about Quad and Kirk King. You remember Kirk King, 2 seasons, played her boyfriend on Married to Medicine.
Yup.
Oh, damn. I didn't mean it, but some of you will say, no, Kempire, you got it right. Played her boyfriend on Married to Medicine for 2 seasons, but did not win any awards. Well, the award might be the fact that people know who he is. That alone sometimes is enough for certain people. We've covered when Kirk and Quad broke up. We found out from Kirk, he was on social media responding to comments saying, I left that situation, only for Quad the next day to release a statement to TMZ saying that they mutually decided to end the relationship. We were just covering the 2-part Married to Medicine reunion, and I said, I don't understand why Quad is sitting next to Andy Cohen. We barely talked about anything related to Quad, barely anything in regards to, it really should have been a reason for her to sit next to him because of the drama that surrounded her breakup with King. And I criticized Quad for even not allowing that to be a discussion or allowing Kirk to have an opportunity to talk about it because you brought this man on the show. It's not just finishing business for you. It's also finishing business for people that are watching the show because now we're supposed to go by your narrative as opposed to what he wants to say. If you missed our recaps of the reunion, I explained explicitly why I feel like it's not necessarily fair because I also said that we saw Quad do something very similar with Dr. G when Dr. G and Sweet Tea were on the show. She got them off the show. She used King as a part of her storyline to secure her spot, and now she no longer needs him, and now she completely wants to erase him from any sort of narrative. Well, when she was on Carlos King's podcast, Carlos asked her about what King said on social media. And this is what King is responding to. So let me play the video for you, and we're going to play this under fair use. You can go see the full interview on Carlos's page.
How did you feel when King made the comment under our post when you spoke about the breakup and how he announced it first? Because a lot of people felt that we only know you because of Quad. So because Quad introduced you to us, give that woman the right to introduce to us that y'all broke up. He left a comment under the post saying for you to be careful before he starts speaking out about some stuff and exposing people.
I don't know what he could expose because he doesn't know anything about me. However, I will say that I'm wishing everybody to just be happy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I want him to move forward and be happy. I want Quad to be happy. I do think they had something very special. I did think highly of him, and I still do. And I hope he lives his life amazing, just like I see Quad living an amazing life as well.
I have to say this in regards to Dr. Heavenly. Dr. Heavenly, when talking about King, she wasn't as respectful as she's being now. She basically called him thirsty and that he just wants to be famous. Now, all of a sudden, she wants to give him a politically correct answer after he put out that threat. And based on what we saw from Heavenly during the reunion, it seems as if there are some secrets to be told. I don't know if King knows any of those secrets, but it's very clear that Dr. Heavenly is not 100% honest with the audience.
I think that's well said, Heavenly.
When was the last time that Kirk has reached out to you?
It was recent. Very recent. Maybe a few days ago.
Saying what?
I don't.
Girl.
I
Okay.
don't. I don't indulge. Listen.
Did you respond back?
I don't indulge. Here's the thing. I'm all in when I'm all in. I'm so in. I'm so in when I'm all in. Sometimes I can even be blinded that I'm so in. So when I'm all out, when I'm out, kind of all out.
Convenient. And look, I'm not sitting here defending Kirk because even based on what we saw of Kirk on Married to Medicine, he wasn't the best boyfriend either, especially if you are trying to, or at least running with the narrative that you're trying to have a baby with this woman. And some of the things that he said during that process were insensitive. Well, in response to this interview that she did, Kirk said this: "Stop lying." He then said, "I asked to end the relationship and haven't had a need to contact you." So he's claiming that he hasn't reached out to her. "Stop trying to make yourself look good. These curated interviews and PR stunts are laughable. You have them in controlled environment with your friends, not with a real journalist that will question you. The performance goes on." So people were like, wow, he's coming for Carlos. Well, no, I get what Kirk is saying. Based on what we're seeing at the reunion, she didn't even allow him to come to the reunion to speak about what played out during the season. He was a part of the season, very important part of your storyline. And you basically gave a very PR response during the reunion, and that was it. You saw what Toya said during the reunion. She said, I spoke to him and he said he wanted to be here. Some of y'all are going to be like, well, no, he wants the limelight. Well, no, shouldn't he have an opportunity to speak his truth? Why are we allowing Quad to control the narrative of how this played out? Especially because if someone says, I ended that situation, and you come out and say, well, no, we mutually ended it. I'm going to probably believe the person that says, no, I was the one who ended it, versus someone says, oh, it was mutually ended. Okay. So he denies reaching out to her. I don't know if I believe that either, though. I don't know if I believe that he hasn't reached out to her. He then says, and no, it wasn't mutual or amicable. That was another performance and PR stunt. So that's what Kirk has to say in regards to their relationship. But I have to say, some of this I agree with in regards to Quad, because we've seen a pattern of behavior even before Kirk came. We've seen a pattern of behavior when it comes to Quad and her relationships, not just with men on the show, but her relationships with the other women, Mariah Huck. We've seen a pattern. Quad actually should be the one running for political office because she knows how to shuck and jive when it comes to telling the truth. I'm not completely surprised that she's facing backlash because she found the right man that's not going to stay quiet. You guys will let me know your thoughts and opinions because you always do. But as always, we do not moderate adults. You can have a difference of opinion, but my opinion is going to stay the same. I can see right through Quad. I agree with Kirk when he says she's only going to sit down with people that she's cool with when it comes to, she's not going to sit down with someone that's going to challenge her. Quad is not going to sit down with me. And if I say, well, Quad, I'm gonna push back on some of the things that people have said during the season. What about during the last season with Dr. G? We saw you sort of gaslighting the situation between Dr. G and King. We're not completely shocked that it ended up blowing up into a physical situation. We saw it. If you watched that season with us, there were elements of Quad trying to gaslight a situation happening between Dr. G and King, only for it to fast forward to that. And then you were like, oh, I do not. Remember the season finale of season 11, where she basically put her line in the sand with the group about Dr. G and Sweet Tea being on the show. Fast forward to season 12, they're no longer on the show. But she still needs a storyline. She still needs to be in some sort of situation. She's got her storyline. She's got King. King is no longer valuable to her. So she has now decided, you're not going to even come to the reunion. Pay attention to the patterns. I don't necessarily always have to agree with how King handles this situation. However, we also have seen Quad and a pattern of behavior from Quad for a very long time. And do I believe Quad when she says at this reunion that she feels close to this group? She feels very tied to this group. Ain't nobody going to talk about this group. Quad has learned to play the game of what she needs to do to stay on this show. And she's got to have a relationship with the women. Okay, I get it. It's not a new year, but it can still be a new you. As you know, we've partnered with Factor many, many times, and this is no different. But let me paint a picture for you. Hunger strikes, and you're exhausted. I know it, especially on a busy day. There's something healthy in your fridge or pantry that you should be making, but you don't have it in you. Relatable, right? For me, eating healthy isn't a willpower problem. It's a setup problem until I found Factor. As you know, I have a busy schedule. Sometimes there's breaking news and I do not have the time in me to cook that meal or prepare for that meal. With Factor, I'm hitting my nutrition goals this season without the planning, grocery shopping, or cooking. What I also love about Factor is that you're getting great quality meals, dietitian approved meals. Factor has meals built around your goals, whether that's weight loss, overall nutrition, more protein, or GLP-1 support. For strength and workout recovery, check out Factor's Muscle Pro collection. As I've mentioned many times before, Factor meals are crafted with functional ingredients from lean proteins, colorful veggie, whole foods, and healthy fats. Factor bans 175 plus ingredients, no artificial colors, no sweeteners, no high fructose corn syrup, and no refined seed oils. And most importantly, convenience. Ready in 2 minutes, Factor shops, preps, cooks, and delivers straight to your door so you have more time for everything you love this spring. Head to factormeals.com/Kempire50 off and use code Kempire50 off to get 50% off and free daily greens per box with new subscription only while supplies last until September 27th, 2026. See website for more details. More details on Factor and your discounts will be available in the description. Thanks, Factor. Former Real Housewives of Atlanta star Kim Zolciak has lost custody of her 4 children. This comes after Croy Bierman sought for sole custody of their kids, claiming that the kids have not seen Kim for several weeks. Well, it was just last week they were reporting to you that Kroy Biermann was seeking sole custody of the 4 children that he shares, 4 minor children that he shares with Kim Zolciak. As you know, this divorce between these two has gotten so ugly, so nasty, so rude, so nasty, so rude, so ugly to the point where the cops were called to their home multiple times. We did several reports to the point where I just stopped reporting because the amount of times the police had to show up to this toxic environment. Well, the two have since split. They're not living under the same roof anymore. However, the toxicity in this relationship still is going on. So Kroy, as I said to you before, sought sole custody, and a judge today has granted him sole custody temporarily. So according to the U.S. Sun, they said the Real Housewives of Atlanta's Kim Zolciak has temporarily lost custody of her children until she completes therapy. The reality star has been embroiled in a nasty divorce and custody dispute with her estranged husband, Kroy Biermann. They report a Georgia judge ordered Kim, who's 47, to complete therapy before regaining custody, leaving the children with Kroy, who's 40, for now. The U.S. Sun confirmed the Cobb County Superior Court. According to the order, the kids stay with Kroy from April 3rd until Kim completes 4 parenting therapy sessions. The earliest she might be reunited with the kids is April 13th. Kim and Kroy share, as you know, Kroy KJ Jagger Jr., who's 14, Cash Kate, who's 13, and twins Kaya Rose and Kane Wren, who are 12. The RHOA star is also a mom to 2 older daughters, Brielle, who's 27, and Ariana, who's 24, whom Kroy adopted. TMZ was the first to break the story about the latest news in Kim and Kroy's ongoing custody war. Last week, the outlet reported that Kroy filed court documents demanding sole custody of their 4 minor children. In them, the athlete claimed that Kim hadn't attended her court-ordered therapy sessions. So that's important to note because Kim has another side to this, and she claims that she's out of the country working to take care of the children. But you miss these court-ordered therapy sessions, and you know that they were court-ordered. Kroy also claimed that the TV personality had been out of the country for 2 weeks and had only seen their kids for 1 night. It's actually more than 2 weeks. I believe it was like 3 weeks. So remember, she was in the Dominican Republic filming that Amazon Prime show that features Tamar Braxton, Kenya Moore, Margaret Josephs, the Julie Chrisley and Savannah Chrisley are a part of this cast. Kroy alleged that one of their kids got bitten by a dog during that instance. The exes currently have joint custody, but Kroy is fighting to have that change immediately. These accusations are completely false and nothing more than a deliberate attempt by Kroy to defame my character, Kim previously told TMZ about her ex's accusations. She says, I spent 5 weeks away working on 2 TV shows to support my family and make sure my children are cared for, something I will never apologize for. However, you remember when we were covering this divorce, this bitter divorce, Kroy claimed that Kim had a gambling problem, and she's part of the reason why they couldn't pay their mortgage, and why they owe all these different credit card companies they're being sued by. So he blamed her because of her gambling addiction, which people cite. If you watch Don't Be Tardy, we didn't, but we saw the clips where she talked about gambling and the amount of money that she was spending on gambling. Kim continued in her statement. She said, I refuse to be bullied or have lies twisted into a narrative about who I am. I will not stay silent. The truth is on my side, and it will come to light no matter how hard anyone tries to bury it. That's the thing with Kim, though. We have so many examples of Kim claiming that everyone else is lying, and it's you. So we can say a lot about Kroy, because I'm not saying Kroy's innocent here, because he dealt with this for many, many years. However, Kim, it's always the same thing when it comes to you. Kim and Kroy have had a roller coaster relationship in recent years, separating, reconciling, and splitting up again numerous times. In June of 2025, the U.S. Sun exclusively revealed that the duo had filed to dismiss their divorce case, despite Kim accusing Kroy of physical violence just days earlier. In February of that year, Kim had claimed that she believed Kroy had an undiagnosed medical condition that led to angry and emotional outbursts. At the time, the Bravo star was allegedly concerned for their safety being under Kroy's care due to his mental health issues. She also suggested that the ex-Atlanta Falcons linebacker could be suffering from chronic traumatic, CTE, following his years in the NFL, which is possible. It's Kim saying this, but at the same time, it's not impossible. According to the Mayo Clinic, CTE is a neurodegenerative disease linked to repeated head trauma. Symptoms include mood, behavior, and thinking problems. Kroy initially filed for divorce on August 24th of 2023. And I don't believe that they haven't finalized their divorce. Wow, the ghetto. Look, here's the thing. I think we will never understand what really was we will never understand the dissolution of this marriage or where it began. I think financial issues is probably one of the number one reasons for divorce. However, it's so crazy that these two who used to defend each other like no other when it came to other people, including their own family members, it's so interesting how this has taken such a crazy, toxic turn. I'm not completely surprised, especially when you look at Kim's behavior over the years. I'm not completely surprised. But I wouldn't be shocked that Kim having a gambling issue, now projecting and saying that, he has mental health issues. I mean, they both could probably have mental health issues for all we know. We don't have the full story. What we do have is that body cam footage that we constantly were seeing of the poor children having to deal with both their parents constantly arguing and fighting. I'm glad at the very least that they're not under the same roof. You may recall we also did a report not too long ago that Kim has a new man that apparently is a millionaire. And Kroy got involved in that relationship and reached out to the millionaire's estranged wife, they're in the middle of a divorce as well, and warned the wife that Kim will drain your husband's pockets dry. And the other woman, was very concerned because there was multi-millions of dollars on the line. She's like, you're not going to drain his pockets before I get my hands on my half. So there's been a lot of drama when it comes to this. But this latest update is pretty shocking that the judge decided that you will not be able to have custody of your children until you complete therapy. But based off the timeline, it doesn't seem like she will be without her kids for that long if and when she completes the therapy sessions. And Kim, you could have used therapy a long time ago. And I'm not saying that Kroy is innocent, even though he put in his Instagram bio that he's a DV survivor. Do we believe that? I mean, I don't know what to believe, especially when dealing with this couple. Guys, as always, I want to know your thoughts and opinions on this latest update. This is coming just in time for the new season of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, but she's not a part. Some of you want her to come back. Please go back and watch the last season that Kim was on this show. You do not want Kim Zolciak to come back. I am always so excited when I can collaborate with a brand, first of all, that's Black owned, but also something that I know you all can benefit from and will love. That's why today's live is brought to you by our friends over at Bask in Lather. So let me tell you a little bit about Bask in Lather and how it even all began. As I mentioned to you before, it's a Black-owned business. When a dermatologist misdiagnosed CEO Shayna's younger sister and said her hair may never grow back, the family took things into their own hands, very much like Black people always do. Today, her hair is down to her hips. Shayna and her mother researched and formulated their own scalp and hair oil to stimulate growth and retain length. And I know what you're probably thinking, Kempire, what do you know about hair? Well, I said I'm going to find a product from this company that I can use. So for those of you, shout out to the guys that follow the channel, or maybe your husbands that are just listening earshot, they have beard remedies as well. So I've been using their beard shampoo, their beard conditioner, their beard oil, their beard magic, which is going to help fill in spots. I've been using it for 3 weeks. So if you see a transformation when it comes to my beard, you know it was at the hands of Bask in Lather. So there are things there for men as well. But more importantly, I know that we have a large audience of women that follow the channel. So I love when we can bring a product that's going to benefit you. Let me tell you a little bit more about Baskin Lather and some of the things that they have on their website. If you're looking for something when it comes to your hair, nourish and hydrate from the inside out with 100% natural ingredients. They have a nourishing hair balm for curly or kinky hair that helps reduce hair breakage and adds shine. When used regularly, users have seen results in about 3 months. Made with ingredients that can penetrate hair strands without clogging pores. Non-greasy formulation with no petroleum or lanolin. They also have hydrating hair mist. Keep any hair type soft and shiny and hydrated. Combines aloe vera and avocado oil to reduce frizz, treat dryness, detangle, and redefine curls. And I took a look at their before and afters, and you would be amazed. From people that have alopecia to dryness of hair to length. The length, I was like, well, maybe I do need to try it. They also have before and after when it comes to thinning hair and shedding of your hair. As I said before, there are multiple before and afters for men as well. These products are for both men and women. I never bring you something here where you can't benefit or get a discount. Explore viral bestsellers and products of healthier hair of all types from Baskin Lather. Go to baskinlatherco.com and use code KEMPIRE for 20% off. That's 20% off at baskinlatherco.com, code KEMPIRE. More details on Baskin Lather will be available in the description. Thanks to Baskin Lather for sponsoring today's live. Brandy, in her new book, Phases, is revealing more about her relationship with Boyz II Men star Wanya Morris, clarifying that she feels as if he took advantage of her when she was just 16 years old and he was 22. So if you were around yesterday, we were live, and I was talking about being in the middle of reading Brandy's new book, her new memoir, Phases. And I was on the brokenhearted chapter where she talks about meeting Wanya Morris. So there have been rumors about their relationship, whether or not the boy's mind was about their relationship. She talks a lot and is very vulnerable in this book in a way I wasn't expecting, because Brandy, for a very long time, has always given us a certain image. So I wasn't sure how much truth she would share in this book. But everyone is now reacting to this particular portion of the book where she opens up about having a sexual relationship with Wanya Morris when she was just 16 years old. Well, since then, all of the media outlets have been reporting on what she talks about in the book. And I've literally said to myself, I need to reread this particular chapter in the book. I'm already almost through the entire book because, and for those that haven't, you can get it on Kindle, you can get it on Audible, you can also get a physical copy of her new book. Well, People magazine writes this in regards to this particular portion of her story. She says, Brandy's opening up for the first time about a relationship she says that has haunted her. In Phases, the R&B superstar's new memoir, she shares details of her late 90s relationship with Boyz II Men singer Wanya Morris that she says began when she was 16 years old and he was in his early 20s. The two collaborated on the hit song Broken Hearted in 1994, and she shares that their friendship quickly turned romantic. She writes, I was in over my head, sneaking around with Wanya and lying to my parents had become a constant. So for those, there have been some people when I talked about this on social media saying, where were her parents? She was lying to them. And I know some of you can relate to being this age and lying to your parents about dating some boy. She says, I was in over my head, sneaking around with Wanya and lying to my parents had become a constant. They barely liked the idea of me dating at all, and telling them about us was out of the question, Brandy, now 47, writes. But it wasn't just about upsetting or disappointing my parents, she continues. Wanya and I understood with the diamond-cut clarity that public knowledge of our relationship would ignite scandal, potentially threatening everything we'd both worked for. So he and I opted for elaborate fiction. We would pretend patience and claim we were waiting until my 18th birthday before pursuing any romantic connection. Brandy writes of losing her virginity to Morris, now 52. She goes on to share that as the relationship progressed, he become prone to comparing her to other R&B singers, namely Mariah Carey, his one sweet day duet partner. He was also increasingly hard to track down, and she was required to page him prior to calling. So when you listen to this relationship, you realize even at 22 years old, Wanya was incredibly manipulative. She writes, "These are the things that with hindsight you realize are wildly obvious signs of something wrong. Neon warning signs that I chose to ignore because I didn't know what the hell I was doing or what he was doing with me. Just that I was in love or what I believed was love." She says that the two split up after she discovered and he admitted that he was cheating. For years, she says that Morris had described their relationship as the young ingenue having a schoolgirl crush getting her heart broken. But that's not the case, she says. I believe he took advantage. The shame ends here. The silence ends here, she adds, of coming to terms with the feeling that she was manipulated into and throughout the relationship. I was not a fast girl with a crush. I was not a dramatic teenager who couldn't handle rejection. I was not an unstable, obsessive fan. I was a child and he was an adult. And it's time the world understood the difference. Here's the thing. To me, that was a mic drop in the end of that particular chapter. But let's revisit what Wanya said on an Instagram Live. Maybe, I think this was back in 2021. It was about 5 years ago.
Should I just
tell the story?
I'm going to tell the story. We like stuff like this, especially when people don't have any idea. Okay.
Jacket.
Okay, so check this out. Brandy and I were friends in the beginning. Her mother and reached out to me, as well as my manager reached out to Brandy, because Brandy was a big fan of mine. And I was like, wow, that's amazing, because this young lady was pretty cool. Now I was young at the time. I wasn't 30 nothing, you know.
And it's so interesting watching this now, based on how Brandy describes the relationship. You could definitely see in this particular instance, he's trying to downplay, he's trying to sugarcoat it, he's trying to put the onus on her. She was such a fan of mine, and blah blah blah.
I'm saying, so don't get it twisted. Hold on one second. Can we keep it down? Because I can't hear. All right. So what happened is we actually, she became kind of like my little protege. You know what I mean? I'm actually the one that introduced her to Vita Spears and Ralph Foucault.
And Brandy talks about this in the book as well.
Came to us to actually do a TV show on the UPN network. And I said, well, Brandy's down the hallway, and, she's basically, she was on the Thea show. Okay, cool. Introduced her to that. The show came to fruition. My mom and I...
Someone in the actual comments section says she was only 15 in caps. According to Brandy, she says that she was 16.
Wrote the theme song to the Brandy show. So Brandy and I were really, really close. Once she turned of age, we had been hanging around each other so much. We've been hanging around each other so much that there became to be some sort of connection, an intimate connection. We actually fell in love. Now, we were young. That's what happens. You're young and you fall in love. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you have the ability to be around somebody a lot, you begin to...
This particular person, Jessica, in the comment section is like, well, in literally during this live chat, is that you slept with her when she was 15. Stop lying.
Know things about them, you know what I mean? And they know things about you. Now, when you're young, you make decisions based on your youth, you know what I'm saying? You don't make decisions, moral decisions that put you in a whole position where you know that this is what's going to be for the rest of your life. You're learning through everything. And Brandy and I learned through a lot. When it came time for Brandy to go on her prom, she was my girlfriend. Kobe Bryant was graduating from high school that year. Brandy was my girlfriend. She had just graduated from Pepperdine, and her mom and I we both made it so that Brandy was able to go on tour. I mean, on the prom with Kobe Bryant. Okay, when it came time for Brandy to introduce herself to the world, I'm the one that actually put her on the Boys to Men tour. Okay, so she was with me. You know, she was my friend, and we became intimate in a relationship. There's no lie going on here. You can ask Brandy; she will tell you the same story. Relax.
Now, Brandy is telling her side of the story. So I wonder what he will have to say after this. This has been everywhere at this particular point.
On what you think, because I know, because I lived it, and so did Brandy. As time progressed, we grew out of each other. Yes, it was a hurtful thing. It was a hurtful thing to break up. That's what happens. You're in a relationship and then you break up. She grew out of me and I grew out of her. Might have grown out of her a little bit faster, but, you know.
Wow, that was a little gross. I may have grow out of her a little bit faster.
It's a relationship. You're young and you make decisions. Next thing you know, that's what it is. Brandy's successful, Boys to Men is successful, and we're happy. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is. We are.
I'm telling you, look, we're not body language experts. We claim to be body language experts. But I'm telling you, there are marks of when someone is not telling the 100% truth or when they're uncomfortable. The nervous laughter is telling me a lot here.
Happy. So whoever is there saying, you know, all kinds of crazy stuff like they know, you know what I mean? Regardless of anything, my age, her mother was definitely, you know, a part of our relationship. Her mother and father was a part of our relationship.
And this is something that Brandy talks about in the book as well, trying to put blame and ownership on her mom when he knows that her mom did not know, that she was lying to her mom about their intimate relationship.
They allowed me to guide Brandy and to help her through her career. They understood that we had grown close, and that's what it was. You know what I'm saying? So understand that that you know for a fact, whoever it is on there, that life happens. That's just what it is. So now you have your answer. And you have your understanding. If you care to listen, you care to believe it, I don't care. I know the truth, and everybody else does too. All right.
And now Brandy is telling her truth. So there's a part at the end of this book that I just wanted to reread and reiterate to you because I just felt like it was, first of all, this memoir is beautifully written. So shout out to Brandy and her co-writer on this. I think they did a really great job putting this together. And there's so many other elements. She's talking about how her career started. And a lot of you have an idea on how her career started, but there are so many little small stories. Her relationship with Whitney Houston, her relationship with her brother Ray J, which especially seeing where their relationship is now in 2026 is actually heartbreaking, reading how close they truly were growing up. Also, Brandy, there is a Best Friends version. The original version of Best Friends was supposed to feature Ray J. And somewhere in the vault, there is a version with Ray J on it. That's why she always talks about, yeah, Best Friends is my song to Ray J. Well, apparently Ray J was supposed to be on the original one, but the record labels were like, he wasn't ready, I guess vocally at the time. But back to this in regards to her relationship with Wanya Morris. She says this at the end of this particular chapter, Brokenhearted. It was a relationship and it grew and it ungrew. That's how he describes it. Like we were plants in a garden that just naturally bloomed and withered with seasons, as if he had no agency. As if he didn't cultivate it. I don't think a grown man pursuing a teenage girl just happens naturally. As he tells it, my mother reached out to him because I was a fan and I became his protege. Again, this places the onus not just on me, but my mother, painting her as complicit. This is a difficult subject for me to write about, to excavate these memories that I've kept like bodies in a graveyard. Interrogating this time in my life has been profoundly painful, like performing surgery on myself without anesthesia. I believed I was making decisions I wanted to make, that I was in control of my own story, that belief protected me from the truth. I wasn't in control. Looking back, I believe he was. Every decision I thought was mine seems to have been shaped by his influence. Our brains are remarkable at protecting us from truths too painful to bear, convincing us we are autonomous in our decisions even when we are being systematically manipulated. That we are in control even when someone is pulling all the strings. This is why we can't blame victims for not recognizing their abuse in real time. That is such a powerful, because we've talked so many times about, especially we were just last year talking about the Diddy of it all, and so much victim blaming was going on. I have to read this again to you guys. She says, our brains are remarkable at protecting us from truths too painful to bear, convincing us we are autonomous in our decisions even when we are being systematically manipulated. That we are in control even when someone else is pulling all the strings. This is why we can't blame victims for not recognizing their abuse in real time. I thought I was dating a person I wanted to be dating, not recognizing that my wants had been carefully cultivated, my desires shaped by someone who knew exactly how to make a teenage girl feel special, chosen, mature beyond her years. There may have been some part of me that I believed that I could get in trouble or be judged, but being with him felt worth the risk because he convinced me that what we shared was rare, special, worth any sacrifice. And there's a heightened sense when you are young and suddenly famous that you're different from other teenagers, more mature, more worldly, more capable of handling adult situations. It was not about rebelling against my parents, nor was I thinking this was someone who is older and taking advantage of my naivete. This was me believing an idea of love that had been carefully constructed and fed to me by someone who knew exactly how to manipulate a young girl's understanding of romance, affection, and her own worth. There have been plenty of cruel jokes at my expense over the years, each one a fresh wound on scars that never fully healed. Being taken advantage of as an immature teenager and then having it thrown in your face for the next 30 years is kind of a cruelty only reserved for women. The shame ends here. The silence ends here. I was not a fast girl with a crush. I was not a dramatic teenager who couldn't handle rejection. I was not an unstable, obsessive fan. I was a child. He was an adult. And it's time the world understood the difference. That is just a glimpse into Brandy's new memoir, Phases, where she talks about her relationship with Wanya Morris. She is telling her side in so many different ways. I will post a link in the description so you guys can get you a copy. Guys, as always, I know a lot of people might be triggered by some of what she's talking about because even reading those words, I know that there are some young people, young women specifically, that have been in similar situations and probably can relate to Brandy more than they ever thought. I know you're probably tired of hearing people say, new year, new me. However, it can be a new year and a new you. Everyone is trying to get back into the gym. They're trying to do some weight loss things. You may have also heard of GLP-1s. Well, our friends over at Ro has gotten you covered with the new GLP-1 pill. The pill is a new, more convenient and approachable way to GLP-1s if you've been thinking about it. A self-administered shot can be a bit intimidating. But now there's a pill that delivers comparable results. If you've been thinking about getting on a GLP-1, Ro might be the way to do it. They have 100% online care, access to clinically proven, FDA-approved medications, free insurance checks, side effect management, dosing support, and more. Ro offers the first FDA-approved GLP-1 pill for weight loss at the lowest cost around. The new GLP-1 pill has the same weight loss ingredient as the shot and packs comparable results to the shot. It can help patients lose 14% of their body weight in a year on average. This is based on a study in non-diabetics with obesity or overweight plus a weight-related condition with diet and exercise. You may have also seen Serena Williams talk about collaborating and endorsing Ro as well. As a world-class athlete, she also wanted to drop pounds after having children. If I had needed this particular option, this is what I would use. A pill versus a shot? Why not? Go to ro.co/Kempire to see if you're eligible for the new GLP-1 pill on Ro. That's ro.co/Kempire to get started on Ro. Go to ro.co/safety for box warning and full safety information about GLP-1 medication. More details on your discount and more will be available in the description. So after it was revealed in Brandy's new memoir, Phases, that she had a sexual relationship, lost her virginity to Boyz II Men star Wanya Morris when she was just 16 years old, and we played for you audio from an IG Live that he did back in 2021, denying that they had any sort of relationship until she was of legal age. You guys have done your digging because apparently it was just a few years ago that Wanya admitted to the Breakfast Club that he was with Brandy when she was just 16 years old. We also have to talk about Brandy's live event here in New York City. I have thoughts. We're going to break it all down. So literally the video that I put out yesterday, I had pre-recorded the night before because I knew yesterday was going to be a busy day because I had a lot of things going on. And I attended Brandy's live book event, which was basically sold out in Brooklyn for the promotion of her book, Phases. I'll talk about that before we get into the crux of some of the things. Angie Martinez was the moderator for this conversation, and Brandy seemed so relaxed, like she was having a really good time. The energy in the room was lively. It seemed like everyone was just excited to be there. Everyone had their book. The conversation, I felt like, although Brandy seemed hesitant, if you saw her on The View, if you saw her on Good Morning America, they really did not dig deep into some of the things that have been like in the book. But it seemed as if Angie, being someone who's been doing this a very long time, started to bring up a little bit of what the headlines have been saying. And she had asked Brandy, have you seen what the headlines have been saying this week? And she says she doesn't pay attention to the headlines, but she can feel it. I took that as, yes, she sees that people are talking about this particular story, Wanya Morris and her relationship, because in the book, she says that Wanya tried to make it seem like she was just some doting fan, that he was just her protege, downplayed it, even said that her mother knew about the relationship. So in the book, which we talked about in the previous video, Brandy explicitly says that, no, we lied about our relationship. We lied to my parents about our relationship. We knew that this could possibly hurt our career, so we wanted to wait until I was 18 before coming forward with this relationship. So many of you have been in the comment section. Some of you have been making excuses for Wanya. Some of you are saying, well, in certain states, 16's of legal age. But just because it's illegal, does that change the fact that you have a child mentality, that you're 15, 16 years old? Does that change your mentality just because the law says in a particular state, which when you look back, there are certain particular states where you can't do certain things now because of the current administration? But I just want to point that out as an example. Just because a state makes it legal doesn't mean that at 16 that you should be engaging in these things. And I understand back in the 90s, a lot of times we didn't make a big deal about it. But now in 2026, we understand it should have been a big deal. It should have been something that we addressed and talked about. But I say that in 2026, and there's still people defending Kanye West, still people defending R. Kelly, saying like R. Kelly has never left my playlist. And I'm just like, I'm just here to give you the information. So Brandy talks about this. She didn't want to talk about this in the book. And we read that this particular part in the previous video. She didn't want to talk about this because she knew that there would be some people that would be like, you are grown, or they would have their own narrative of who she is or not believe her because she lied before. We've seen that recently with Shine and Mace. Sidebar, she doesn't talk about either one of them in her book. And when she released the statement, she revealed that this is why she's writing the book. She did mention during the live show last night that, well, she insinuated that she knew what was going on with Ray J. She made a joke about it last night, but I know she did. She's on the cover of Parade magazine, and she says that she has to keep her distance from Ray right now for her own peace.
Distance right now. Yes, a few things that he's been doing in the public eye that I don't condone, and I just feel like loving him from afar right now is best for me and my peace. My life with Ray and my connection with him is all throughout the book, and you can see my love for him is just, it never wavers.
And I think we all get that. And if you read her book, which I have at this particular point, I read the entire book, Brandy talks about how close they are and were growing up. Sidebar, I need to know when we're going to hear the best friend version with you and Ray J. Just saying, because she talks about that in the book. That originally it was supposed to be a duet between the two of them. But she talks about how close they were and how, and even at this book event last night, she talks about how she really wanted the success for him. And it really hurt her heart when it felt like because she was Brandy and he was Brandy's brother, that she felt guilty about that. She'd much rather be Ray J's sister. And we've heard her talk about that before. But like I said, in the Parade magazine cover interview that she did, she reveals that she has to keep her distance from Ray now just for her own peace. Okay? So she did make some jokes about that last night, but in jest, she also said, "That's my brother, though, and I love him." But back to what is being said now. So Angie Martinez did allude to what's been making the headlines, and she said there will be these moments when you write a book that people are going to pick these certain things out of the book and run with that. I honestly feel like Brandy should have answered the question. She should have addressed it by reiterating what she said in the book. I think Brandy should have just said, back when I was young, I didn't see anything wrong with it, but as a grown woman looking back and raising a young daughter, I now understand that I was manipulated. I now understand that what he did, and a lot of you brought up the Adina Howard of it all, because apparently he was dating Adina Howard at the same time, and that's what The Boy Is Mine is about. All right. But after I did that video yesterday, so many of you were pointing out this old footage that ended up leaking. And I'm telling you, after I did the video, I saw the footage literally on the internet. I was like, wait a minute. Wanya admitted at one particular point on the radio to the Breakfast Club, and everyone in that room is just laughing. Just laughing. Like, this is not cringy that this grown man at this particular point was bragging about sleeping with a 16-year-old, maybe 15. Take a look at what he said.
And you had a celebrity relationship. Were you the only one that was ever involved with a celebrity?
Who was he dating?
Wanya was banging Brandy.
Brandy.
He left you lonely, brokenhearted.
No, I didn't actually leave alone.
He was teaching Ray J how to do videos.
You taught Ray J how to do the same.
That's why they called you Squirt.
That's what I was thinking.
That's why you Squirt.
I mean, Brandy.
Mind you, and everyone's cringing. The people that are watching this video in 2026, they're cringing at everyone in the room laughing about this. And a woman, Angela Yee, is in the room. And I know Angela Yee, part of the reason why she even left the Breakfast Club were because of, I don't know about moments like this, but just being uncomfortable with certain conversations over the years where it just feels like I can't control this room or being in this room and being a part of this.
Brandy even said to her behind the music that you broke her heart because you fell in love with somebody else.
I mean, you only fall in love with somebody. You only fall out of love with somebody else if somebody makes you fall out of love. Mm-hmm. You know, so if that was the situation.
Is that true? The one thing I've noticed, and some of you have been in the comment section talking about either personal experiences or just watching Wanya over the years, and you're saying to yourself, he's always been a weirdo. He's always given weird narcissist energy. And I haven't seen a lot of interviews with Wanya just because I'm not that interested in what he has to say. But what I have been seeing recently, I'm just like, something's a little off, but okay.
Situation is that's what she said. Then
that's political. I like that.
I can't contest to her view about it. I can just only live by my view.
Revolt.
Mm-hmm.
Revolt.
They were saying she was really young when y'all dated.
Yeah, she was. Not that young. Not
this
jailbait. No, that's what I'm saying.
Which I find to be interesting. I don't know if Charlamagne was setting him up to get clarification or was he just being creepy? Because I know what you're going to say about Charlamagne and his history.
Hold but you know that's why. But hold on, that's why.
I'm gonna let
that's
you,
why I
you
stopped
answer
it.
the question
But
about my
hold on.
relationship.
But that's why I stopped it and said that she wasn't that young because I don't want y'all to think Boys to Men was young. No.
She said she was.
I was young too.
She said she was 15 and she had to keep it a secret because she was so young.
See, we.
Do you see? He said that in the video from 2021, and he's saying it here. I was young too. Yeah, you were 22, but she was 16.
We did the thing. We did the thing when she was like 16, 17, around that time. You know.
So you were still a boy too.
So that's what everyone's reacting, that particular part. But it gets even more cringy. But here he admits that we did it when she was like 16 or 17. However, in 2021, you're denying that. You're saying that she was of legal age, she was 18 years old, but I was young too.
I wasn't too old. I wasn't like 38 years old, nothing like that. I was old enough to. She was old enough to get it.
Okay, but was it legal in the state y'all was in?
I mean, we was always in different states. We was on tour.
They had a nomad relationship.
You know what I'm saying? We just, we didn't do it in the states that it was legal. It was illegal in.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Oh my gosh. Political.
No. It was, you know what I mean? It was a time. It was a relationship. It grew and it ungrew. I guess you could say that.
Ungrew.
Squirt and it unsquirted.
Squirted and unsquirted. I like that.
And that's coming from Angela Yee. Angela Yee's the one who said that. So you see where he mentions where he says that it grew and then it ungrew. That actually is a quote from Brandy's book. Brandy actually says in her book, she mentions this because she's talked about over the years. She probably saw this interview too. She mentioned over the 30 years, people have painted this narrative about her in the media. We just saw it literally this past week with the Mason Shine of it all, even though, again, she does not mention them in her book. I found that interview to be so cringy after watching it. I was just like, wow. Charlamagne asking the question, was it legal in the states where y'all were doing it? This goes back to what I was saying. Just because it's illegal in a certain state doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it less manipulative. And this is the other element which Angie brought up during the live event that they had last night. She pointed out that people just pull a portion out of the book. If you read the Brokenhearted chapter, which is probably one of the longest chapters in the book, she talks about the manipulation of that relationship. And now that she kind of looks back on that relationship, now has an understanding like, oh, wow, he was manipulating me this entire time. He knew exactly what he was doing. So I implore you guys, for those that may just see the clips about this and you've already made some sort of assumption of what Brandy says in the book, no, read the full chapter. Read the full chapter. And maybe we will read it together. You guys let me know. You guys have been asking for a book club here on the channel, and I think this should be the book. All right? Guys, as always, I want to know your thoughts and opinion on this now released old footage resurfacing of Wanya confirming he did, in fact, have a sexual relationship with Brandy when she was 16, maybe 17 years old. Thanks for tuning in to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. Don't forget to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And for more information on the podcast, head on over to KempireRadio.com.